Not that you asked me, but I have never been more nervous to drive a car in my entire life. And that's not just because it's worth the GDP of a small nation, but because this car is an absolute unicorn, a legend. A car decades ahead of its time and the benchmark for other supercars for decades to come. It's a car so rare, so legendary, that Bill Gates spent 13 fucking years lobbying Congress to get a special law passed so that he could drive it on American soil. The car I'm talking about is, of course, the Porsche 959. They always say, don't meet your heroes, and it's because that there's no chance that they'll ever live up to the pedestal you put them on. But here I am, about to drive one of the most significant Porsches of all time, and as a Porsche enthusiast, my personal dream car. As someone who has absolutely no business driving a car like this, the pressure to love this car feels immense. I feel like I have to love it for every other car nerd out there who's dreamed of this moment themselves. Will the 959 live up to its impossible hype, or is it really just a fancy 911 turbo? Let's find out. Holy shit. What the fuck is this?
The radio. The antenna for the radio.
This is a 959 radio antenna. This is a $50,000 radio antenna.
Yeah.
Holy fucking shit.
Yeah, 959.
The 959 is so exclusive and so expensive that it felt like I was breathing rarefied air. Bill Gates, Jerry Seinfeld, all the craziest Porsche collectors of all time have jumped through so many hoops just to be able to have this car. They've spent millions of dollars just to be able to have this car. This car is literally a piece of Porsche history, and I'm vibrating.
When we're at low speeds and you start to turn, you'll feel it like, but yeah,
What is that?
that's the all-wheel drive system.
Jesus
Don't worry
fucking
about
Christ.
it. Don't worry about it.
Woo! How much boost does this hit, do you know?
2.5 bar.
2.5 bar?
Yeah. And yeah,
When does it
drives
hit
like
boost? Or first tell me, what engine does this car have?
Fuck, it's twin turbo. I think it's a. I'm gonna I'm sorry, Porsche.
The internet is gonna be so mad.
Yeah, this is bad.
I think it's a 2.85 liter.
Yeah.
Or
yeah.
3.82 or 3.85? 3.85. I just remember that it's 0.85 something.
Yeah.
We're gonna be the least informed car
Yeah, I just
YouTube
feel
on the internet.
Boost kicks in at like 5,000, and it's a 2.8 liter engine. I'm sorry, Porsche people.
How'd you Google it?
Yeah, I googled it. I googled it till he's correct.
It is
It's a
2.8
twin
liters,
turbo,
so it is a quite small in terms of, you know, where we are in modern day 911s and stuff. It's a pretty small motor.
Yeah.
But then the turbos are probably big ass Garrett units or something like that. All right, so I'm gonna give it some sauce.
Yeah, step on it.
All right, here we go. Oh shit! Does it have like a 2-stage turbo?
Yeah, so it's a
So
one
you
kicks
feel
in,
it, and then
it
you're
goes,
like, oh!
Yeah.
You're like, okay, that's a little fast, and then it's like, woof!
Yeah. I told you.
That's fucking great.
Once you step on it, you start to see that it's fucking 80s fast.
Yeah, 80s fast is like a great term.
It's unadulterated, just fast.
But this is a little adulter.
Step on it.
It's adulter,
Yeah,
like in a good
sorry,
way
to
though.
a point.
Like, it is, like you said, a businessman's car, an executive car. Like, not even a businessman's car. It's the car you would buy if you had F40 money and you weren't a douche at the time.
Porsche released this car. Does 200 miles an hour. Ferrari releases the F40 and then says it, the F40, and then says it does 201, which is hilarious.
Was the F40 or this first?
This.
This was first.
This was first.
Interesting. I thought this was a response to the F40.
I have it the other way around, but you could be
But
right.
I mean, these were the two cars that people were comparing at the time. It was, which, driving this car, having never driven an F40, I can't really say, but driving this car, it doesn't seem like you could ever possibly compare an F40 to this in terms of drivability. Like, better or worse, this is a car that you could do everything with. When the 959 came out in 1985, it must have absolutely blown people's fucking minds. Like, an all-wheel drive, twin turbo, 200 mile an hour car that you could take your kids to school in, It was the jack of all trades, and it didn't make you look like a jackass. And as I'm thinking about it now, that's the best part of the 959. It has all the performance of something like an F40 and none of the douche factor.
To me, this is the perfect, like, Wall Street executive 80s car when you talk about, like, excess and,
I mean, to me, that is the Countach. Like, when I think of Wall Street executives in the 80s, I think the Wolf of Wall Street.
Then will you give me the understated repression of the 90s compared to the 80s?
Yeah, well, exactly. This is understated. And that's what I like about it. And that's what I didn't like about the last time I drove a Ferrari.
To me, the most important thing about a car is how it makes you feel. And that's what leaves me really conflicted about this 959, because on the one hand, it doesn't make you feel like a douche. You don't feel like you're driving some $2 million flashy supercar. It is so under the radar that only real Porsche nerds know what a unicorn they're looking at.
But like, even in a Ferrari, $150,000 Ferrari, I feel way douchier than driving this car.
I think that's to the nature of those cars.
Are what?
Just being Italian.
Yeah.
It's like, they're unbelievably well styled. Do they hold up mechanically?
Sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes.
They used to be.
Yeah.
Ferrari, I feel like, has really lost their train of thought or something, or their identity that separated them from Lamborghini and from everybody else.
We have a four-door Ferrari now. It's like, it is what it is.
The FF or the Persang or whatever it's called?
Puro sangue.
Puro sangue?
Yeah, it's pure blood.
Pure blood. Whoa, that sounds a little problematic, but dude, this is surreal.
Yeah.
It's so normal feeling.
It is.
Like this car is worth more than everything my entire family owns. And it just feels like a fucking car.
You're right. It does just drive. It just drives like a normal 911. And
But it's like some cars you drive, I don't know, want you to go really fast. Like, it feels high strung and it needs to be up in the revs and it needs to be whatever, but like, it's chill.
It's so German about being like a 200 mile an hour car.
Yeah,
I would say.
like,
just composed and like quiet. And if you want to do this and drive slow, then we can drive slow.
and honestly, I want to hug you right now, bro. I can't.
Oh, we can do that after. Yeah, I don't know. Cars are meant to be shared, I think. At least, like, you can tuck them away, but when you have them out, and, like, I think that you should at least, like, try and share them.
I mean, to me, the most exciting thing about cars a lot of the time is other people's excitement around them.
Yeah.
And, like, it must be impossible to get gas in this car. Like, people must lose their, or is it so low-key that people don't even notice?
I think if it was, like, bright red, then it would be, like, a completely different story, but it's so low-key and gray that, like, or slate metallic, whatever the actual official paint code is, that it just kind of goes, like, relatively unnoticed. No one bothered me.
You have an F50 for that.
Yeah, that's...
I mean, the F50 has to be the antithesis of this car, where that they were both designed kind of for the same thing, but the F50 is about as showy and ostentatious as it gets. Not in a bad way. I love an F50, don't get me wrong, and I would love to drive one anytime, but they're not the same.
They're not.
And like, I don't know how you could ever compare an F40 to this, because you could go do 1,000, 2,000 miles in this, and your back's not gonna hurt.
It has AC window locks, heated windshield, and you just have all the electronics, all the bells and whistles that you kind of come to expect with like a luxury car of the era. The F40 was made to just drive. This was made to do, like you said, literally everything.
I mean, the F40, again, was a thinly veiled race car.
Yeah.
Which, technically, this is a homologation special, so this is a thinly veiled race car. Porsche built this car to go race at Dakar.
Yeah, they did.
Literally the gnarliest race of all time, and I read something that with this car, what they did for development was they would just drive the absolute shit out of it and break every single part and then keep driving it until the point where nothing broke anymore. And it just feels like, I don't know, that doesn't feel very German to me, but at the same time, the fact that you could just, you can feel it in this car. It feels like a tank.
If they put a GPS in this thing, it would literally only take you to Poland. And yes, that's a recycled joke from Top Gear. But, yeah, it's, I don't know, man, it's just super cool.
It's impossibly normal.
Yeah. Yeah, nah.
But like, I don't know, I've never bought a multiple $1,000,000 car. Is that annoying?
No.
Is that annoying that I can just sit here and putz around and like doesn't
Nah.
No?
No. This is what I think all modern supercars have kind of done to like the real raw sort of 80s.
Well, I mean, this is the
supercar.
formula that all modern Porsche turbos are built on. All-wheel drive, turbo, 6-cylinder, rear-mounted.
Yeah.
And this happened nearly 40 years ago.
Yeah.
And they're still doing the exact same thing. And what's cool is that rather than just replace the 911 with something else, it's all just been small iterations and building off of an already good platform. And that's exactly what it started with this car.
Yeah.
My experience with the 959 is hard to wrap into a perfect little bow because I felt a lot of things. On one hand, it doesn't make you feel like a douche driving around in it because you just feel like you're driving a 911. And that's kind of my issue with it. I wanted it to feel more special. I wanted it to feel more unicorn. And while I know the 959 really does have something special, I don't think I really got to experience that just driving it around on public roads. I think I'd really have had to get after it. And with a $2 million car, I wasn't gonna do that. Looking back onto the legacy of the 959, I honestly think it's in a category of its own because I don't think you can really compare it to supercars like the F40. It's just a completely different experience. I think the 959 is an incredible driver's car, but for me, it's not exactly what I'm looking for. I'm looking for an experience that's more raw, more analog, more visceral. The 959 is fast, it's engaging, it's comfortable, it's everything, but at the same time, something that's everything loses something. It loses a little bit of that specialness that I'm looking for.